pleasant day to you, bright minds. I hope you're having a blast. It's us again, your English learning buddies, Dan and Sir Deejay, to help you learn and have fun while studying English. So make sure you have your pen and your paper ready, because hand in hand, we will once again explore the wonders of the universal language. Let's go! Do you remember those days when people used to ask you the question, what would you want to be when you grow up? I guess they still ask you the same thing up until these days, right? But what is your answer to that very special question? What would you want to be? Would you want to be a policeman? An engineer? A doctor? A teacher maybe? A businessman? A soldier? Or a lawyer? Whatever your answer may be, one thing is for sure. You will have a responsibility, an obligation. An obligation is an act or course of action to which a person is morally or legally bound. It could be a duty or a commitment. Got that? But just because you're young doesn't mean you don't have any of these duties. Even as a student, you have obligations. Attending classes on time and regularly. Completing all homework and assignments. Organizing your time well. Respecting yourself and others. Reading on a regular basis. And doing your best. I sure hope you're always doing these tasks. But as I have mentioned, the future holds more. What could these duties be? Let's take a look at some obligations that you might have in the future. Let's play a game. I'll be telling you an obligation, and then you'll try to guess what profession has that duty. Are you ready? Let's play Guess the Job! I have to make sure my patients are healthy. I must always be ready in times of medical emergency. What's my job? Good one, guys! I am a doctor. Doctors have to take appropriate steps available to make the right diagnosis, provide treatment, and follow up on their patient's progress. Also, they have to undertake patient consultations and physical examinations, organize workloads, perform surgical procedures, provide general pre- and post-operative care, monitor and administer medication, assess and plan treatment requirements, and more. Being a doctor is not an easy job. They are heroes, especially in the time of pandemic. Salute to all the doctors out there. What about this one? I must serve and protect the citizens. I don't have to cure the sick, but I must make sure that people are safe from harm. What's my job? Exactly, I am a policeman. As part of law enforcement, police officers have 4 major responsibilities: enforcing laws, preventing crimes, responding to emergencies, and providing support services. A police officer performs a variety of duties, including pursuing criminals and filing reports. They are also responsible in investigating break-ins, making arrests, patrolling areas within police jurisdiction, directing traffic, recording witness accounts of crimes, give first aid to victims in need, calming disputes, and more. Our dear police officers pledge to serve and protect. We should respect them with what they do. We salute our honest and dignified police officers. Wow, you're good at this. This one's gonna be tougher, so be ready. I have to plan structures and make sure they are safe. What's my job? Wow, that is correct. I am an engineer. During the engineering design process, the responsibilities of the engineer may include defining problems, conducting and narrowing research, analyzing criteria, finding and analyzing solutions, and making decisions. Much of an engineer's time is spent on researching, locating, applying, and transferring information. So if you want to be an engineer, you better start focusing on these traits. I'm sure you can do it. And for the last one, I must defend the oppressed. I have to make sure that the rights of the people are respected. What's my job? That is spot on. Great work. I am a lawyer. A lawyer advises clients concerning business transactions, claims liability, advisability of prosecuting or defending lawsuits, or legal rights and obligations. Lawyers interpret laws, rulings, and regulations for individuals and businesses. Also known as attorneys, lawyers also analyze the probable outcomes of cases, using knowledge of legal precedents, present and summarize cases to judges and juries, evaluate findings, and develop strategies and arguments in preparation for presentation of cases. You did very well in our game. Good job! What do you notice among the sentences that I have given you during the game? What do you think are their similarities? What words are often used in my sentences? You're right. The words have to and must are always used. Why, you say? That's because these models will be the topic of today's episode as we express obligation and no obligation using modals. As you can remember from our previous episodes, modals are called auxiliary verbs or helping verbs. That's because modals give additional information about how the main verb functions in the sentence. Let's see if you can still remember what we talked about last time. Can you look back at your notes and tell me what functions of modals have we discussed before? That's right. We talked about modals that are used to express permission and prohibition. Can you still remember the modals that can express permission? Correct. The modals can, may, and could are used to express permission. Good job. What about the modals that can express prohibition? Great. We use can't or cannot and mustn't or must not to express prohibition. I see you're reading your notes well. That's a very good habit. Keep it up. As we express obligation, commitment, or duty in our sentences, we make use of the modals has or have to and must. However, there is a difference on how they are used. The modal has or have to is used when the obligation is set by an authority, rule, or law. It is not set by the speaker himself. We have to implement the social distancing rule at all times. In this sentence, the obligation to follow social distancing rule is a general rule, not a rule set by the speaker. Also, we used have because the subject is we, which is a plural pronoun. Here's another example. She has to hurry or she will miss the bus. This sentence uses has to because there is a singular subject Also, the person in the sentence did not set the rule because obviously, she's not the one who writes the bus schedule. However, she is obliged to stick to the schedule. Check out the next example. Children have to attend their classes. Once again, this sentence showed us that when we use have to, we are expressing an obligation that was set by a general rule. On the other hand, the modal must is used when the obligation comes from the speaker himself. I must practice my speaking skills. This sentence states that the obligation to practice is the speaker's decision. Speaking and pronunciation is a critical part of learning the English language. They say practice makes perfect. But a wise friend of mine once said that it would be dangerous to continuously practice in the wrong way. Before practicing, we must know the right way. So it would be better to say that perfect practice makes excellent improvement. Here's another example. When your teacher gives you a deadline, he or she says, you must submit your output on Tuesday. The teacher uses must because she's the one who sets an obligation and the deadline. Using must and have to expresses strong obligation or necessity. Check out this last example. We must always help people in need. The obligation in this sentence is set by the speaker himself, and this obligation is true in every sense of the word. Whenever we are given a chance to extend a helping hand, let's not hesitate to help. Remember, a generous person will prosper. Whoever refreshes others will be refreshed. Modals can also express no obligation. It is when we express the absence of commitment or duty, as one may do it or not. For this function, we use the modal don't have to. It's an accident. You don't have to apologize. This sentence states that it's okay not to apologize to the speaker because it is an accident. But remember, when we hurt somebody, whether it is intentional or not, we should always say sorry as a sign of care and courtesy. He doesn't have to bring his file. We already have a copy of it. Question: in this sentence, why did we use doesn't have to? Correct! We use the modal doesn't have to because the subject, he, is singular. Also, there is no obligation to bring his file since, as it is said in the sentence, a copy is available. And lastly, you don't have to be perfect to be loved.
Do you agree with the sentiment of this example?
There is no obligation to reach perfection. For you to be loved, the most important thing is to be true and to be yourself. Keep that in mind. So remember, in expressing obligation, we use the modals must, or, has, or have to, while don't have to is used to express no obligation. Now let's try what we know about modals in expressing obligation and no obligation. Try to fill my sentences with the modals that would best fit in them. Are you up for that? Let's go! Here's the first one. The museum is free. You blank pay to get in. The sentence says it's free. What modal should we use for this one? don't have to is the modal that is best fit for this sentence. Do you have the right answer? Good job! The museum is free. You don't have to pay to get in. Let's try the second one. We blank hurry. We're running out of time. They are running out of time. Hurry! What modal should we use for this one? The speaker sets the obligation for this one. So, we will use the modal must. Good one. We must hurry. We're running out of time. What about this last one? Students blank develop the habit of reading. In this sentence, it is not the speaker who sets the rule. So, we will use have to. Having a habit of reading is a general rule, but we have to be careful with what we read. It should always be age appropriate to us. Students have to develop the habit of reading. Good one, guys. Now let's up the challenge for this one. For a very short yet exciting activity, let us accomplish a learning task wherein we will use everything we learned about modals so far. Modals that express permission, prohibition, and obligation. We will try to supply phrases that have the right modals and verbs to complete the statements from our sample conversation. Are you ready? Let's do the dialogue together. Once upon a pandemic.
There is no perfect time and age to become responsible and well-informed citizens. Anyone can be one, especially in this time of crisis. I was not born with a silver spoon in my mouth, so there is nothing I can do to survive the situation I'm in at present.
Likewise,
We were both raised in love, faith, patience, and perseverance.
we blank strong. The answer is must be, because the rule was set by Andy himself, not a general rule.
I blank say that we blank keep going to survive this pandemic.
The modal can was used to express permission to say something. Have was used because it has become a duty to keep going to survive in this pandemic. Our government and all of us blank not be complacent in trying times like this. Must not be is used to say that we shouldn't be relaxed and calm. Instead, we should be alert during this crisis. Though we have our government to support us during this critical time, we blank be completely dependent on our government. In number 5, the modal don't have to is used to tell us that we shouldn't completely depend on our government. We should help. Yes, you said it right. We blank resourceful and frugal at times like this. There is a commitment to be resourceful during this pandemic. So we used have to be.
Blank I suggest that we start planting vegetables in our own backyard or in any improvised plant box.
The modal may expresses permission to suggest to Andy, as with starting to begin the act of planting in the backyard. That's a good idea, Anna. We, as responsible citizens, must also help our government to surpass this trying time. It is an obligation that we set ourselves to help the government in our own simple ways.
Not only that, we blank be compliant with the rules directed by our government to get rid of this pandemic the soonest possible time.
Have to be is used to tell us
There is also an obligation to comply with the rules.
yeah, I got it right. Let's go check what we blank and blank while under enhanced community quarantine. These modals, must and mustn't, are used to express our obligations and things that are prohibited during the ECQ. That is what we blank in times of crisis. We blank be free of this pandemic in no time at all if we will cooperate. The modal have to is used to tell us that these are our duties and obligations during this pandemic. Also, we used can be free because this tells us that there is a possibility if we work together. Come on, friend, we blank make a difference. Have to make is used since making a difference is our obligation as a good citizen of the country. Now, we will listen to the dialogue with the correct answers in them. Once upon a pandemic, there is no perfect time and age to becoming responsible and well-informed citizens. Anyone can be, especially in this time of crisis.
I was not born with a silver spoon in my mouth, so there is nothing I can't do to survive the situation I am in at present.
Likewise,
We were both raised in love, faith, patience, and perseverance. We must be strong.
I can say that we have to keep going to survive this pandemic.
Our government and all of us must not be complacent in a trying time like this.
Though we have our government to support us during this critical time, we don't have to be completely dependent on our government.
Yes, you said it right. We have to be resourceful and frugal at times like this.
May I suggest that we start planting vegetables in our own backyard or in any improvised plant box?
That's a good idea, Anna. We, as responsible citizens, must also help our government surpass this trying time.
Not only that, we have to be compliant with the rules directed by our government to get rid of this pandemic the soonest possible time.
Yeah, I got it right. Let's go check what we must and mustn't do while under enhanced community quarantine.
This is what we have to do in times of crisis. We can be free of this pandemic in no time at all if we will cooperate.
Come on, friend. We have to make a difference.
You did an amazing job in our activity. For that, you get a 2 thumbs up from your learning buddies. And that concludes our episode today. I can't believe we're already done. I hope you had an amazing time with us today. Your English learning buddies, Dan and Sir Deejay. As we end our class, remember to never stop learning because life never stops teaching. See you in the next one. Bye!